And that night, while she sat in that house full of echoes and betrayal, I was 2 towns over, lying on my sister's guest bed, my kids asleep in the next room. I had a real meal for the first time in weeks, a shower that didn't end with me staring at the tile, wondering where it all went wrong. I lay there in the dark and I felt free, like a man who had just climbed out of a burning building, soot-stained and sore, but still breathing, still alive. And I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Danielle was never going to see this version of me coming. The old me would have argued, would have begged, would have cried and asked what I did wrong. This version had spent the last 6 months digging a tunnel out of her prison and sealing the door behind him. This version didn't care if she cried, didn't care if she needed closure. Closure was a luxury for people who deserved it. Danielle had forfeited that the moment she gave her body, her time, and her lies to someone who couldn't even be bothered to pick up the phone when her world fell apart. And the best part? She still hadn't even seen the whole plan yet. Because I wasn't just taking myself out of the picture, I was taking everything with me. Her stability, her image, her fake narrative. It was all coming down, brick by brick, and she was going to feel every single impact. Because when you treat the person who built your life like a stepping stone, don't be surprised when the ground falls out beneath you. By Monday morning, I was already on phase 2. And this wasn't just about dismantling her personal life anymore. I wanted to reach deeper. I wanted to strike where she hadn't even thought to protect herself. Because Danielle, like most cheaters, was short-sighted. She thought this was about us, about hurt feelings, broken vows, and maybe a messy divorce where we'd cry over custody and then go our separate ways. But I wasn't playing by those rules. She thought I'd be licking my wounds, holed up somewhere trying to move on. I wasn't moving on, I was moving through. And that meant going after the thing she valued next to her ego. Brett. Now Brett, for all his abs and charm, worked at a boutique gym across town. One of those polished, modern places where everyone wore coordinated outfits, and the slogans on the wall talked about building community and honoring family values. I'd done my homework. He wasn't just some side hustle trainer with a few private clients. He was the face of their wholesome, active lifestyle marketing push. Picture him in company ads, smiling with a golden retriever and a yoga mat like he was Mr. Clean Cut America. Except, of course, he wasn't. And I was about to make sure everyone knew it. I started by creating a brand new email account. Untraceable, no ties to me, no identifiers. Then I sent a message to the gym's corporate headquarters. Subject line: Employee conduct concern. Urgent. Inside the email was a polite but firm message from a concerned local resident, expressing disappointment that a gym dedicated to family health and values would continue to employ someone engaged in a highly public affair with a married mother of 2. I attached a few carefully chosen images. One of Danielle and Brett holding hands outside his apartment, another of them sharing a kiss while she still wore her wedding ring, and finally, one of them at the hotel lobby in Miami, standing with their luggage looking absolutely panicked after being denied check-in. Just enough to tell the story. Just enough to make the gym leadership sweat. By Friday afternoon, Brett was unemployed. Danielle called me that evening, her voice cracked, trembling, riding that line between confusion and panic. He's taking some space, she sniffled. He needs time to think. He's overwhelmed. Oh, is he? I thought, barely suppressing a laugh. I told her flatly that I was filing for full custody, that I'd be taking care of the kids, and she could see them once a month until we sorted out something more permanent. That I didn't think she had the stability to co-parent right now, not with her soulmate running for the hills and her life unraveling one thread at a time. That's when she snapped. Her voice, once soft and pitiful, hardened. "You're not taking them from me," she hissed. "I'll expose you for what you really are. I'll tell the court everything. You're not perfect either." I almost choked on my coffee. Expose me? I asked her to go ahead. Please. Tell them what? That I took care of our children while you pretended to be at yoga and actually spent your evenings dry humping a gym instructor on his IKEA futon? That I did every bath time, every school pickup, every pediatrician visit while you role-played being single in another zip code? She didn't say much after that, because deep down, she knew she had nothing. I hadn't laid a finger on her. I hadn't yelled, screamed, cheated, or so much as left the toilet seat up. I'd been clean, legal, and methodical. Every move backed by evidence. Every step designed not just to protect myself, but to show the world who she really was without having to scream it from the rooftops. And that silence that followed our call? That was the beginning of her unraveling. The community we lived in wasn't big. People talk, people notice. And our town, for all its small charm and PTA bake sale innocence, thrived on whispers. I didn't have to go public with anything, because the dominoes were already falling. Brett was gone. Her job was growing tense. People in her office started noticing she was constantly on her phone, showing up late, taking long lunch breaks. And then, the school moms started talking. Little things. Why she wasn't at drop-off anymore. Why the kids seemed quieter when they stayed with her. Why the dad, who used to be the quiet one, was suddenly the one organizing the parent-teacher meetings and helping out with the fall festival. Why his wife hadn't been seen in weeks. That's the thing about a carefully planned revenge. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be undeniable. I watched as Danielle slowly realized she wasn't just losing me. She was losing her place. In the community. In the story she told herself about who she was. She used to walk through the grocery store like a queen. Now she avoided eye contact. Now she pulled her hood up when she went in for coffee. The spotlight she craved had turned harsh and unforgiving. And Brett? He didn't even text her back. After all the sweet nothings and Instagram-filtered fantasies, he ghosted her like yesterday's protein shake. I imagine she stared at her phone for hours, rereading his last "I love you" texts, trying to convince herself that he just needed time. That this was a bump in their fairy tale. But no fairy tale starts with the other woman watching her boyfriend lose his job and flee the state. That's not love. That's a fantasy imploding under real-world pressure. And Danielle was standing in the rubble with no one to blame but herself. Meanwhile, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. My business had picked up. Friends I hadn't seen in years were reaching out. My kids, happier, lighter, more at ease. Like they could finally breathe again without the tension that used to thrum through the house like electricity. I took them pumpkin picking one Saturday and posted a photo online. Just me and the two of them, standing in the golden October light, smiling in flannel. The caption? Starting fresh, just the three of us. That photo didn't just get likes, it spread. People noticed, people asked, people started whispering a little louder. Danielle saw it, of course, she always kept tabs. And it killed her. That much I could tell by the silence that followed. No calls, no texts, just void. I had become the thing she could no longer reach. And that, right there, that distance, was the punishment. She thought she could blow up our life and still have access to me. Still talk. Still weep into the phone and ask for some understanding. But I wasn't her safety net anymore. I had cut the line, and she was falling. This wasn't about vengeance anymore. Not really. It was about reclaiming something I didn't even realize I had lost until she ripped it from me. My peace, my identity, my dignity. And now that I had it back, I was never going to let her near it again. It was about a month after the pumpkin patch photo went live that I realized something had shifted, not just in my world, but in hers. I could feel it in the quiet, in the messages that didn't come, in the awkward glances I started catching at the hardware store or the post office. People knew. Not because I told them, but because they had eyes. They'd seen the way Danielle used to smile like she owned the room, the way she posted filtered selfies with faux deep quotes like she was some kind of lifestyle influencer instead of a wife who couldn't keep her vows or her story straight. Now? She wasn't smiling. She wasn't posting. She wasn't even showing up to the events she used to love preening over. Something about her absence felt louder than her presence ever did. I kept living. I kept moving. I didn't reply to her texts, not the short, awkward ones asking for an update on the kids, Not the passive-aggressive ones that came through late at night with vague, guilt-laced jabs like, "You know this isn't fair to me." I didn't respond because I didn't have to. She'd had her chance. She'd made her choices. And I wasn't her emotional punching bag anymore. My silence became her sentence, not because I was cruel, but because I was done. I posted another photo. Me and the kids carving pumpkins, messy hands, goofy grins, the kind of simple, pure moment she never had the patience for. Caption: messy hands, clean conscience. That one didn't just get attention, it hit nerves. Because people started talking, people who knew both of us, people who had sat across from us at cookouts and school fundraisers and assumed, like I once did, that our marriage was steady, healthy, safe. Suddenly, they were connecting the dots. Brett was gone. Danielle looked like hell in the Target parking lot. And I was thriving. That narrative was spreading faster than anything I could have scripted myself. I heard from mutual friends, some hesitant, some bold. I don't want to take sides, but wow. She really messed up, man. We always wondered why she treated you the way she did. They didn't say much while it was happening. That's the nature of polite society. But now that the mask was off, now that I had taken back my story, they started admitting what they'd always known. That she'd changed. That the jokes she made at my expense at dinner parties weren't cute. That the way she brushed off my hand or cut me off mid-sentence had made them uncomfortable. That they saw the slow erosion, even if they couldn't name it then. And now they were cheering from the sidelines. Danielle wasn't just losing me, she was losing us. The family, the story, the illusion. Her castle had crumbled, and all that was left was the cold, hard floor. She texted again a few days later. "Can we talk? Just 5 minutes. Please." I didn't respond. Instead, I scrolled through her old photos. The ones where she smiled with her head on my shoulder, back when I thought that meant something. The comments under those photos felt like ghosts. Goals. Perfect couple. Y'all are so lucky to have each other. Lies. All of it. A play we were both cast in, but only I believed in the script. And now, the curtain had closed, and I was already writing a new act. The whispers grew louder in our small town. I didn't encourage them. I didn't feed them. I just let them live. I didn't have to burn her reputation. She lit the match and handed me the lighter fluid. All I had to do was step back and let nature take its course. At our daughter's school, other moms stopped saying hello to her. One even looked me in the eye and said, "If you ever need help picking up the kids, just let me know. You're doing a great job." That kind of thing used to go to Danielle, the sympathy, the attention, the praise. Now it was mine, because I had stayed. I had kept things running. I had carried the load while she danced with disaster. And the world had noticed. The final nail came not from me, but from Brett himself. Or rather, the absence of him. He vanished, deleted his socials, quit the gym scene entirely. Rumor had it he was living 2 counties over, working construction, trying to keep his head down after losing his job and getting caught sleeping with a married client. Whatever he was doing, he wasn't calling Danielle anymore. And that silence? That was her first real taste of karma. I caught her one day, at the pharmacy, of all places. She looked thinner, tired, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. Her once meticulously styled hair was now pulled into a lazy knot. She was holding a bottle of wine and frozen dinner, and she caught sight of me at the counter. For a moment, she looked like she might say something. Her lips parted, her hand twitching toward her purse like she was going to pull out her phone and fake another emergency. But I didn't give her the chance. I paid for my things and walked right past her. No nod, no smile, just a ghost brushing by what used to be home. She texted again that night. "I miss them. I miss you." I didn't reply, because that wasn't true. She didn't miss me. She missed what I gave. Stability, respect, purpose. She missed having someone to lean on while she reached for someone else. She missed being the center of a world she thought she built alone. And now that world had flipped on her, cold and unforgiving, and there was no one left to catch her fall. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't loud. I didn't need to be. All I had to do was live. Be present. Show up. Take care of my kids. Rebuild with patience and grace. And that, more than any scorched earth tactic, was the revenge she never saw coming. Because the man she left, he didn't die. He evolved. It was a cold, gray Wednesday when she finally asked for a sit-down. The text came mid-morning. Not dramatic, not desperate. Just 5 words. Can we talk? About co-parenting. No hearts, no guilt trips, no breadcrumbs of emotional manipulation. It was the most adult-sounding thing she'd sent in months, and I knew that meant she was tired of screaming into the silence. I stared at the message for a long time before replying with a simple, "Okay, Friday, 10 a.m., Harbor Cafe." Neutral ground, public space, nothing she could twist into drama. I got there early, ordered black coffee, took the seat by the window. The cafe was half full, mothers with toddlers, old men reading newspapers, a waitress with a nose ring who hummed as she wiped tables. Ordinary, safe. I liked that. I needed that. I sipped the bitter coffee and watched the parking lot through the frost-dusted glass. And then I saw her, Danielle, stepping out of her car in a coat she hadn't worn since last fall, one I had bought her, now hanging awkwardly on her thinner frame. Her makeup was flawless, too flawless, like she'd spent an hour trying to look like she wasn't trying. Her eyes scanned the cafe nervously before she saw me, and for a moment she stood still, hand resting on the door, like she wasn't sure if she wanted to come in or walk away. But she came in. She sat down without a word, carefully sliding her purse onto the chair beside her, folding her hands like we were in a parent-teacher meeting. "Thank you for meeting," she said, voice softer than I remembered it. I want to do what's best for the kids." I nodded once. "Good, because so do I." There was a long pause. She looked around the cafe like she was hoping someone might interrupt us. I could see the flicker in her eyes, the one that used to work on me. That look she gave when she wanted me to reach across the table, take her hand, say something comforting to make it all okay again. But there was nothing in me left for that. I let the silence stretch between us like a chasm. She cleared her throat. "I know I messed up." I didn't respond, because no matter how many times she admitted it, the mess didn't get smaller. "I'm trying," she said, looking at me now. "I know you probably think I don't care, but I'm trying to be better. I've been going to therapy, Good," I cut in, voice calm. "I hope that helps you." She blinked, visibly thrown off by how flat and detached I was. I wasn't angry. That's what really caught her off guard. Anger would have meant she still had a hold on me, but I was beyond it. She didn't know what to do with that. I reached into my coat pocket and slid the envelope across the table. She stared at it like it might bite. "What's this?" "A formal custody settlement. Drafted, notarized, fully legal. You'll keep the apartment. But no car. No access to our joint savings. And I retain full custody." I paused, letting the words hang like smoke in the air. "Everything's fair. Everything's documented. There's no room for negotiation." She opened the envelope with trembling fingers, scanning the pages quickly, her eyes darting from line to line. Then she laughed, but it wasn't joyful. It was bitter, tired, scared. "This is cold, Aaron." "You taught me how to be," I said, leaning back in my chair. 12 years together and I never once made you feel like a stranger. But you? You left me alone in my own home for someone who barely remembered your last name when the money dried up. You don't get to talk to me about cold." Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean for things to go this far." "But you let them," I replied, quiet but firm. "And that's the part you'll never own." She started crying. Not a full sob, not the crocodile tears she used to shed when she was caught in a lie. Real tears, the kind you don't control. Her shoulders trembled and she covered her mouth, trying to keep it together. And for a moment, Just a moment. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not because I missed her, I didn't, but because I had loved her once. And now she was just this broken, hollow version of someone I used to know. I was unhappy, she whispered, wiping her eyes. I felt invisible. So did I replied without hesitation. Except I stayed, I worked, I showed up. You ran. That's the difference. She looked up at me, mascara smudged, cheeks blotchy. You really hate me. I don't hate you, I said, and I meant it. Hating you would mean you still matter. I'm just done. There was silence again. A long, heavy silence. She took a shaky breath, tried to laugh again, but it died in her throat. So that's it? That's how this ends. I sipped the last of my coffee, stood up slowly and dropped the napkin on the table. You already ended it. I'm just closing the door. She looked up, one last desperate flicker in her eyes. Do you ever think about us? About what we were? I paused, met her gaze one final time. Sometimes, but not with regret. With relief. And then I walked out. No turning back. No second glance. Just the cold air hitting my face like a baptism as I stepped into the parking lot and left her behind. 6 months. That's how long it had been since she walked into that cafe thinking, maybe, just maybe, there was a sliver of the man she left still waiting behind the eyes of the one sitting across from her. 6 months since I handed her the envelope and walked out without needing to yell or scream or even look back. And in those 6 months, my life had become something entirely new. I got up early, packed lunches for the kids, helped with homework, fixed leaky faucets, and went to bed tired, but not broken, not angry, just done. I started seeing my reflection again, not just the face in the mirror, but the man behind it. I started laughing again. I found joy in the smallest things. Hearing my son giggle at some ridiculous YouTube video, watching my daughter build her confidence back, Sunday morning pancakes where we all sat around the table and talked like nothing was missing. Because the truth was, nothing was. Not anymore. The hole she left behind had closed itself up with something stronger, deeper, real. And that's when the call came. I almost didn't answer. It came from a blocked number. No voicemail. Just one ring, then two, then silence. Then it rang again. Same number. And something in me, curious or just needing to hear her voice one last time, told me to pick up. Hello, I answered flatly. There was a pause and then her voice, soft, barely above a whisper. Aaron? I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. It's me, she said, as if I didn't know. Another long pause. Her voice sounded different. Not the haughty confidence she used to carry like perfume. Not the desperate edge she had when Brett vanished. This was something else. Something smaller. Worn down. Beaten. I'm sorry, she said, and the words floated there like cold air in a warm room. I know you don't want to hear it, but I needed to say it. I was stupid. So stupid. I waited. I lost everything, she went on, her voice cracking. Brett left, just disappeared. My lease is up in a month. I'm late on rent. I don't even have a car anymore. My parents won't help. They said I made my bed and now I have to lie in it. I miss the kids. She hesitated. I miss you. There it was. The full circle moment. The thing she never thought she'd have to say out loud. I leaned against the counter, looking out the kitchen window at the backyard, the one I'd cleaned up after she left, where the kids' swing set now stood tall and proud again. A place of life, a place of healing. I wanted to see if... She tried again, softer this time. If maybe we could talk. I know I don't deserve anything, but I just wanted to hear your voice. I needed to. I could hear the desperation, the vulnerability. I could tell she'd rehearsed this. That maybe this call had been sitting in her chest like a lump for weeks, maybe months. She wanted something, maybe closure, maybe forgiveness, maybe a second chance. But she wasn't going to get it. Not this time. Because I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to lecture her. I didn't need to rub her face in everything she'd destroyed. I'd already won. Not by hurting her, not by destroying her, but by rebuilding me. So I said only this: I have to go. And I hung up. Then I blocked the number, and that was it. Not dramatic, not loud, just final. A clean break. A quiet, perfect end. I went upstairs and checked on the kids. My daughter curled up with a book, my son fast asleep, hugging his favorite stuffed shark. I leaned in, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "I've got you." Because I did. I always had. I stood in the doorway for a long time that night, letting the silence settle over me like a blanket. No buzzing phones, no arguments, no gut-punch texts or fake apologies. Just peace. And the knowledge that the woman who once thought she could burn everything down and walk away unscathed had finally seen the smoke from the outside and realized no one was waiting to let her back in. I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't need validation or apologies. I had something she could never take from me again. Myself, my kids, my dignity. And as I turned off the lights and crawled into bed, I smiled. Not because she was gone, but because I was still here. Stronger, wiser, free. Watch more interesting stories on my channel.